All right. So I've made up some easy CPI numbers here for 1983. The consumer price index, I'm going to say it was 100. And for the year 2000, I'm going to say it was 200. It's actually very close. In 1983, it was actually 101.3. And 2006, it was actually 201.8. So very close, right? But I just made those easy numbers up. And I want you all to write down the answer. Don't shout it out, but just on your paper. First step here is just to understand what the consumer price index means. Consumer price index means. So it's referencing the relative cost of things, right? It's like a kind of a basket of groceries in 1983 cost $100. A basket of groceries in 2006 cost $200. Although it's not just groceries, it's not just like bread and milk. It's also, health insurance and iPhones or televisions or whatever. All sorts of stuff. Dental, how much it costs to pull a tooth, right? So it's not just a basket of groceries, but it's kind of like an index for the average price of goods and services, stuff, right? So what it's basically saying is that in 1983 this index number was 100. In 2006 this number was 200. So can you describe what happened to the average price of stuff in the USA from 1983 to 2006? The average price of stuff, what happened to it? It doubled. Beautiful. If you were asked that a wage was $5 an hour in 1983, and if it increased in line with the consumer price index, okay, so a wage, say McDonald's or something, is $5 per hour, what should that wage be in 2006? Write it down. And then do this one. If in 1983 the rent of a small room was $250 per month, and if that rent did increase in line with the consumer price index, right? What would that rent be in the year 2006? Write it down. Okay. So I hope you all figured out that the wage would have gone to be $10 per hour. The rent would have increased to $500 per hour. Per month. $500 per month, right? So does that make sense? So things have, on average, have doubled in price. Okay. Now this may not be the case. Like not everything follows the consumer price index. Nothing probably follows it exactly. But perhaps bread is relatively cheaper. Perhaps wages haven't gone up to match CPI. Perhaps rent is probably tripled. Maybe rent is more like $750 in 2006, not $250, right? For that same room. I don't know. So things not everything goes up things go up in different ways. But this is the average increase of prices, if that makes sense. Are we following? So in 1960, the average hamburger in the US cost 21 cents. If this price increased in line with the CPI, the Consumer Price Index, what would it cost by 2020 or in 2020, right? So press pause if you watch from home or anybody. Just try to do it yourself. Don't shout out the answer, but I want everyone to give this a go. So let's reference the previous easy example. We were looking at things that increased from 1983 2006. The CPI was roughly 100 and 200, and we said, oh, it just doubled. But how did you get that double? Like, how did you? So you said, oh well, it just doubled. How did you get that number? What did you do to figure out that it doubled? You know what I mean? Didn't you go 200 over 100 equals the number 2, and that's doubling, right? You see, it increased by a factor of 2. If you take this number and divide by this number, you get 2. Isn't that cool? And that's like the factor it increased by. It's as simple as that. It's not that much. 1960, your groceries Your basket of groceries, your consumer price index, your basket of groceries cost $30. 2020, those same groceries cost $260. Oh, sorry, that's about $30. This is about $260, right? How much did they increase by? What operation can we do just to figure out how much more expensive things are now? What do you think? Could we just do this, 260.5, and do this magical operation called division, and we get 29.8, and that should give us what? Over 260.5 over 29.8. Enter. 8.7. What does that 8.7 mean? The previous example, we went 200 over 100, we got 2, and that means, oh, everything's twice as much. Ooh, that makes sense, right? What does this 8.7 mean? I'm just going to say roughly 8.74, right? Yeah, 874%. Yep, that's the factor it increased by. Everything is 8.74 times more expensive. All we have to do is this. Go 8.74 times 21 cents, and that's the answer. You're done. That's all you got to do. That's the answer. Everything is basically 9 times more expensive by 2020. If you got $1 an hour in 1960, you get $9 now. If a house costs $100,000 in 1960, it costs $900,000 now. Everything's about 9 times more expensive. Does that make sense? So from 1960 to 2020, everything is about 9 times more, roughly, right? So in any case, take that number and times it by 0.21, and we get $1.83.5, around $1.84, right? Approximately $1.84. So the average hamburger, if it increased in line with inflation, would be $1.84. Holy moly! I think it's more than that now, isn't it? Let's check online. Ooh, $4.12. So the actual cost of a hamburger in 2020 is $4.12. Ooh, look at that. So a hamburger really is a lot more expensive now than it should be, if that makes sense. Maybe they're bigger. I don't know. Are they bigger now? You say it could be more than that. It mightn't be the same hamburger, you know. Maybe a 2020 hamburger is probably twice the size, isn't it? I don't know. But yeah, if it increased on average with everything else, it would be $1.84. It does happen to be $4.12. That's our actual average price. But there you go. Are we clear on that? Is that okay?